All right, welcome to your first real dive into the world of IB economics. Now, before you start thinking about dusty old textbooks, let's get one thing straight. Economics is all about the powerful and often invisible forces that shape pretty much every choice you make, from what you had for breakfast to the big global headlines you see every day. So let's start building your foundational toolkit right here, right now.
Okay, let's kick things off with a problem I bet you've faced before. You want a brand new phone and a new laptop, but you've only got enough cash for one. That feeling, that tension of having to make a choice, well, that right there, that's the absolute heart of economics. It's a dilemma everyone on the planet faces, and it's all because of one single powerful idea. And that big idea is scarcity. It's actually a really simple concept. We humans want endless things, but the resources we have to get those things, whether it's your money, your time, or even the planet's natural resources, are limited. This one problem, this gap between what we want and what we can get, is literally the reason the entire field of economics even exists.
So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to nail down that fundamental economic problem. Then, we'll get into the real cost of making any decision. After that, we'll zoom out and see how money actually flows through the whole economy. We'll also cover how to start thinking like an economist, and finally, we'll tie it all back to your IB journey ahead. Let's do this!
Okay, first up, the big one. Scarcity isn't just about your personal choices. It forces entire countries to make huge decisions. I mean, every single society, it doesn't matter if they're super rich or really poor, has to constantly answer three fundamental questions.
So, question number one, what are we going to produce? Are we going to pour our resources into building more schools or more shopping malls? Second, how are we going to produce it? Are we going to use lots of human labor, or should we invest in high-tech robots? And finally, the big one, for whom? Once everything is made, who actually gets it? Does it go to whoever can pay the most, or is it shared out in some other way? The way a country answers these three questions defines its entire economic system.
And to make, anything, economies need a mix of these four key ingredients. We call them the factors of production. You've got land, and that means all natural resources, water, oil, trees, you name it. Then there's labor, which is simply the human effort involved. Next up is capital. And listen, this is a big one. In economics, this doesn't just mean money. It means the physical stuff, the tools, the machines, the factories. And finally, you've got entrepreneurship, which is that special spark of organizing the other three and taking a risk to create something new.
So, since we have to choose, that means every single decision we make has a kind of hidden price tag. And no, I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about the road not taken.
This brings us to an absolutely crucial concept, opportunity cost. Put simply, it's the value of the next best thing you had to give up. So it's not a giant list of everything else you could have done. Nope. It's the value of the single best alternative you sacrificed to get what you wanted.
Let's circle back to our laptop and phone problem. Let's say you wanted the laptop just a little bit more, so you bought it. What did you give up? The phone. That smartphone is the opportunity cost of buying the laptop. Honestly, every single choice you make, from what you're going to watch tonight to massive government decisions, has an opportunity cost.
So how do economists actually visualize all these trade-offs for a whole country? Well, they use this cool model called the Production Possibilities Curve, or PPC. Just imagine an economy that only makes two things, say cars and laptops. Any point on the curve means the economy is running at full steam, total efficiency. A point inside the curve means something's wrong. Resources are being wasted, maybe people are unemployed, and any point outside the curve, that's the dream. It's where we want to be, but it's currently impossible with the resources we have. Okay, so we've got people and countries making all these choices. But where does this all happen? How do all these decisions connect? What we need is a map of the economy. I mean, seriously, think about it for a second. You go buy a coffee. The cafe then uses that money to pay its employees. The employees then go buy groceries. The grocery store pays its suppliers, and on it goes. It's just a constant loop. But what does that loop actually look like? Well, it looks something like this, the circular flow of income model. In this simple version, just follow the money. On one side, you have households. That's you and me. We provide our labor to firms. In exchange, the firms pay us an income. So what do? We take that income and we spend it on goods and services, which sends that money right back to the firms. It's this beautiful, continuous loop between the people who make stuff and the people who buy stuff. And what's really fascinating is how this flow links right back to those factors of production we talked about earlier. See, each factor earns a specific kind of income in this system. If you provide labor, you earn a wage.
If you lend out capital, you earn interest. If you offer up land, you get rent. And if your entrepreneurship pays off, the reward is profit. It's how the value that gets created is distributed back to all of us.
Of course, the real world is a bit messier than that simple loop. A good way to think about it is like a bathtub. Some money leaks out of the main flow. We call these withdrawals, things like saving your money, paying taxes, or buying stuff from other countries. But new money also gets poured in. We call these injections, like government spending, businesses investing in new factories, or selling goods to other countries. And for an economy to be healthy, you've got to keep a good balance between those leaks and injections.
So now we've got some of the key concepts and models under our belt. But economics is more than that. It's a whole way of thinking. It's about how we break down problems and understand the history of the ideas that got us here.
Now this is a really important distinction you need to get. On one hand, you have positive economics. This is all about objective facts that you can test. It describes what is. For example, saying, if the government raises the minimum wage, some jobs might be lost, is a positive statement. We can go out and test that with data. On the other hand, you have normative economics. This is about opinions and values. It describes what should be. A statement like, the government ought to raise the minimum wage to help the poor is normative. It's a value judgment, a goal. You can't prove it right or wrong with facts alone.
And you know, these ideas didn't just appear out of thin air. They've evolved over hundreds of years. Way back in the 18th century, Adam Smith was talking about the invisible hand of the market. Then in the 19th, guys like David Ricardo helped us understand trade. The 20th century was hugely influenced by John Maynard Keynes, who made the case for government stepping in during bad times. And now, in the 21st century, cool new fields like behavioral economics are mixing psychology into the mix to understand why we make the sometimes weird choices we do.
Okay, we've covered a ton: scarcity, choice, opportunity cost, and the big models and mindsets. So let's wrap this all up by looking at how you're going to use this amazing new toolkit throughout your entire IB course. You see, everything we've talked about today is the foundation for it all. You're going to apply these ideas in three main areas. In microeconomics, you'll zoom in on the choices made by individual people and companies. Then, in macroeconomics, you'll zoom out to look at entire countries, things like unemployment, inflation, and economic growth. And finally, in global economics, you'll analyze how all these different countries interact through things like trade and development.
So I'm going to leave you with this question. You now have the basic toolkit of an economist. You get scarcity, you get trade-offs, you see the flow. So when you think about the biggest challenges our world is facing right now, climate change, global poverty, inequality, which problem would you try to tackle first with these new tools? What are the tough choices and the massive opportunity costs we'd have to consider? Thinking about questions just like that? Well, that's what your whole journey in economics is going to be about.